Now, the Subway Final Word.
Good evening, I'm Albie Oxenrider, and welcome to the Subway Final Word, the show that invites you, the fans, into the conversation. You can get your opinion on TV right here every Sunday night. And how about those Bucks?
I was thinking about that before the game. You know, you can be tired, you can be sore, whatever, but this is what you put all the work into for is these upcoming weeks. So this is what I look forward to, and all of us in here look forward to.
Mark Melanson slams the door, and the Pirates win their 87th game. And let's get started by introducing you to tonight's three panelists. Joining us once again this week, the afternoon host at 105.9 The X, Mr. Mark Madden. Hi, Mark.
Yo, Pittsburgh. It's after midnight. Do you know where your offensive coordinator is?
Dan Kovacevic from the Tribune Review. How are you, Dan?
Here's hoping he's in Cincinnati, and here's hoping he's revised the entire playbook or just thrown out the existing one.
They got hotel bars there too, Dayon.
And Mark Kaboly, you're ready for a trip to Cincinnati. How you doing tonight?
Pretty good. I wonder if there is a Crown Royal, or is that a Royal Crown in Cincinnati? I think it is.
Oh, there's Crown Royal.
There's
probably Royal Crown Cola, too.
Questions that we will answer tonight. And these are our three big topics. The Pirates move in on their first playoff spot since 1992. The Bucks' magic number now at 6. Steelers get ready for Monday Night Football, looking for their first win. Many injuries, many questions, and the Penguins' season is underway. They played a preseason game tonight in Columbus, but we start with the Bucks. Our first question, if the Pirates have a one-game playoff, who should get the start? Mark Madden, your leadoff this week.
I used to think that was an easy question. I used to think it would automatically be Francisco Liriano. But Liriano's had a couple rough outings. You know, he's mixed the good with the bad. He hasn't been the get him and put him down quick and keep him down every night starter he was for a lot of the season. I think it would depend on the other lineup. I think it depends on lefty-righty. I think A.J. Burnett, who's been up and down as well, I think he's a viable choice due to the way he battles. So Liriano or Burnett, I wouldn't have a problem with either. And like I said, I'd consider lefty-righty.
Dan, he didn't look too shabby today.
Well, he didn't until he kind of wore it out, obviously, at the end, and he wasn't efficient. So Mark's got a point. He's had a couple of games where he's struggled and been knocked out really early, a 10-run game, a 5-run game, a couple of 5-run games. At the same time, Francisco Liriano is the one guy, I think, that gives you the best chance to just dominate an opponent out of all the guys we mentioned. And yes, I would throw Garrett Cole into this mix too, by the way he's pitched lately. There's no reason to hold him back from anything. He's certainly not backing away from any challenges. But Liriano is the guy that can go out there and just crush the other team. And Mark, you mentioned matchups. I'll throw this out at you. Cincinnati is coming at me. I want Liriano going against the Reds because you've got Joey Votto there and you've got a guy that can tie him up.
Mark Kaboly, Francisco Liriano flirted with a no-hitter today.
Are we guys, I mean, let's not kid ourselves here. It has to be A.J. Burnett. This guy is the emotional leader. He's the spiritual leader. He is the guru of all pitchers. You see all the guys come up to talk to him afterwards during the game. He's the first one patting him on the back. That goes a lot in that locker room. There's no doubt it has to be A.J. Burnett. He's been in this situation before. Before he got here, the Pirates did nothing but lose. Since he's got here, they did nothing but win. Give me A.J. Burnett and that fire, and I want him out there. That's the guy.
This isn't about emotion and spirit, though, Kaboly. This is about having a guy go out there and pitch.
I don't know about that. The opening game of the playoffs, wild card single game, first playoff game in Pittsburgh in 21 years, A.J. Burnett could handle it. Not saying Liriano couldn't, but Kaboly's right. Everybody turns to Burnett on that team. I wouldn't rule him out.
I don't think he can be ruled out, and at the same time, I think Liriano is your best guy because he's your best pitcher on this team.
All right, question number 2 coming up. A reminder to keep the comments coming. You can find us on Twitter at WPXI Final Word, on Facebook at The Final Word. And what are they saying on social media about who should start a one-game playoff? Here's an interesting one. AJ versus the Reds, Liriano versus anyone else. That's from @SteelersCrash. And another comment, most likely it's going to be tight, so aces might be needed Saturday and Sunday to win the division. That's from @Chris Laurenti. Thank you for those comments. This is the Subway Final Word. I'm Albie Oxenrider with Mark Madden, Dan Kovacevic, and Mark Kaboly.
Yo, Albie.
Sticking with the Pirates. Yes, Mark.
The tweet guy got it exactly backwards.
Okay. All right, well, we'll get to that. You can comment in a minute. Get your erase board ready. What team would give the Pirates the most trouble in postseason? Dan goes first this time. Give Mark some time to write something on that board.
Well, I don't think anybody would doubt that the Los Angeles Dodgers and what they've done over the last 4 months just stands out in the National League. They've got a loaded lineup. Hanley Ramirez is playing at an MVP level. Clayton Kershaw is pitching at an MVP level. Yasiel Puig is the guy that's just taken baseball by storm, really, out there in California. They have a loaded team. They've spent $1 billion on it. They should have a loaded team. That's, I would think, the one team that you'd want to avoid the most.
Mark, did you take exception with one of those tweets?
I take exception with all the tweets because it puts people who aren't on a level with me, even if it's just for a few seconds. But in terms of who gives the Pirates the toughest time in the postseason, if I could design the path for the Pirates to take, I want them to play a team from the NL Central in the wild card game, which would be inevitable if the Pirates don't win the division. Or I want them to play an NL Central team in the first round, the division series, because I think the Pirates are familiar with those teams and therefore not at all intimidated. In fact, maybe vice versa. I think these guys have been shocked by the Pirates so often, the Reds and the Cardinals. They're not going to have a feeling of superiority, nor will the Pirates have a feeling of inferiority towards those teams. But the Braves and the Dodgers, not only are they better than Pittsburgh, they're way better. They have deeper lineup, superstars the Pirates don't have outside of Andrew McCutchen. I want to face NL Central teams as often as possible.
From Mark to Mark, Mr. Cavalli.
I would say it's the team that has the best offense, and that would have to be the Los Angeles Dodgers. The far as the Pirates are going to go is going to be because of their starting pitching. There's no doubt about it. I don't care if they got who they brought in offensively. This team still struggles offensively. And if you're not going to be able to get your starting pitchers to get you deep in the game with giving up 1 or 2 runs, you're not going to have any chance whatsoever. And the Los Angeles Dodgers, as Deon said, loaded from top to bottom. Then you throw in, like he said, 2 extremely top-notch aces, and you want to stay far away from the Los Angeles Dodgers as possible.
Now, I'll say this, the Pirates can pitch with any of these playoff teams. That's the one thing we do know.
All right, the Pirates 25 games over 500, 13 games remaining in the regular season. 6 of the 13 will be against the Reds, although the Bucs now lead Cincinnati by 3.5 games. Steelers talk coming up. We asked you on social media as well what team would give the Pirates the most trouble in postseason. Our house thinks the Dodgers would give Pirates formidable fits in any postseason games. That's from @GrannyUser. Thanks for the comments. Back with more of the Subway Final Word right after this.
Now, the Subway Final Word.
Welcome back to the Subway Final Word. Steelers getting ready for Monday Night Football, and because of all those injuries already looking very different than they did last Sunday when they lost to the Tennessee Titans. Our third topic tonight, looking for the spark. Our first Steeler question for the panel: which player needs to step up tomorrow night for the Steelers to have a chance to beat the Bengals? Mark Cavalli ready for a trip to Cincinnati, and we start with you this time.
I'm saying it's a guy who wasn't even on the roster last week, and that's Fernando Velasco, the center. He'd be able to gel that offensive line together, and it's basically the unit. The offensive line has to play better. Ben had no time to throw. Redmond had no place to run. The offensive line plays better. They have a chance to go into Cincinnati and win that game. So I would say it all hinges with Velasco. He's been here a week, but he's much better than Calvin Beachum at the position. He could solidify that whole unit, and things could change in a heartbeat if that offensive line blocks like they're capable of blocking.
Dayan nailed it. He said Cavalli's going to pick an offensive lineman.
Every time. Geno Atkins is going to have something to say about how Fernando handles center. I'll take Emmanuel Sanders. This is a guy who performed, I thought, just awfully in the opener. He let that one ball early on that Ben threw, perfect ball right between his arms, not his hands, his arms. You just can't have that in a guy that's supposed to be a big play, big-time receiver. The Steelers need all of their receivers going on all cylinders, and that's not even touching the topic of whether or not you should have 4 wides out there, which I think you should, just to have Marcus Wheaton on the field.
Mark Madden, Mean Joe Green is not able to play in this game.
Don't steal my material, Albie. They need a super Steeler of the 70s to show up in his prime out of a time machine, maybe more than one, for this to even be in a game. Sanders can't make enough of a difference. Velasco can't make enough of a difference. Nobody they got can make enough of a difference. All y'all acted all week long like it's just one game and the Bungles are the Bungles and they'll bounce back. They have no chance whatsoever to win this game tomorrow night. Debating like that's a possibility is just science fiction. And here's my message for the hearing impaired. Get ready for 0-2, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Remember to keep the comments coming. Tweet us at WPXI Final Word. Facebook us as well at The Final Word. When we come back, the Penguins starting their preseason schedule. How much confidence do you have in Marc-Andre Fleury? We're going to ask about that. And we asked on Twitter who has to step up for the Steelers to get that win at Cincy. Troy, he needs to wreak havoc and force a turnover or two for this team to have a chance. That's from Anthony DiCarlo. Thanks for the comment. Back in a moment.
Now, the Subway Final Word.
Head up. I love how he disguised.
The Penguins back on the ice tonight in Columbus. It's only the preseason, but hockey is going to be here before you know it. The real games, that is. The Sting is still there. The sweep at the hands of the Bruins in the Eastern Conference Finals. Most of the key players back for the Penguins, but here's the question going into the season. Can Marc-Andre Fleury get it back? Can he lead the Pens back to the Stanley Cup? Mark Madden, what do you think?
Well, Marc-Andre Fleury is the best goaltender they have available. People act like there was some realistic possibility they might make a change in the offseason because Fleury struggled again in the playoffs, but there was never a chance that Tomas Vokoun can't be the number one goalie over 82 games and the playoffs. And for all Fleury's done bad in the postseason, he's had some pretty good postseasons too. So he's the guy, but it's going to be a very odd season for Fleury in terms of how the fans perceive what he does, because it won't matter till the postseason starts.
Yeah.
Between now and then, it doesn't matter at all.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest point, Mark. No matter what he does between now and then, I joked in a column earlier this week that if he wins the Vezina and has a .999 save percentage, everybody's still going to be holding their breath the first time there's a 55-footer from Brian Straight heading his way in the playoffs. You just can't have that. Fleury is going to have to block it out. He's going to have to be tough. Everyone knows by now that he spent some time this summer with a sports psychologist. And no, that doesn't mean he was on a couch with a waving watch in front of him. They try to help you focus on the positive. Stay focused on what's right in front of you. Fleury has to do that. It's good for the Penguins to know that they have not just an able but a really capable backup in Tomas Vokoun. He might still be your plan B going into the playoffs, and you know that you've got that. But, boy, I agree. I mean, there's nothing Fleury can do in the interim. There really isn't.
I don't know about you guys, but I like my goalie a little bit loopy. Aren't all goalies in the NHL a little bit loopy? So, you know, as you guys said, it's going to make what he does in the playoffs is definitely going to be his telltale sign. But I don't see why not. Why can't he be the guy? Like you said, he's had great playoff runs in the past. Okay, he had a bad one last year. So what? I like my goalies crazy. I like Marc-Andre Fleury, and there's no reason why he can't be successul this year into the playoffs.
He's got the raw talent, as much talent as any goalkeeper in the league.
He does, but it sure has been a while, Mark. I mean, you mentioned that he's had good postseasons in the past, but they're increasingly in the distant past.
All right, the Penguins preseason continues tomorrow night. Their first home game of preseason against the Detroit Red Wings. Some opinions on whether Marc-Andre Fleury can lead the Pens to another cup with the improved D and the return of Scuderi. I say yes for Fleury. That comes from @RushLedger. Thanks for the tweet. We'll be back.
Now, the Subway Final Word.
Welcome back. We're taking one more look at the Steelers heading into tomorrow night's matchup with AFC North rival Cincinnati. They're ready in Cincinnati. Will the Steelers be ready? And tonight's fifth and final question, who should get the most time at running back tomorrow? Redmond, Jones, or Dwyer? Mark Cavalli, take it away.
Well, who should and who will can be two very different questions. Who it will might just determined on who holds on to the ball. Who it should be is Isaac Redmond. He is the guy who's in shape. He runs the ball hard. He had a tough game last week. What they're going to do is they're going to give Isaac Redmond every chance to be successful in this game. They're going to have Jonathan Dwyer spell him, and Felix Jones is your third down back. Redmond, I like what he's done so far in the preseason, the limited action he had. He was tremendous in the offseason. You could see him in training camp, how well he ran the ball and how quick he was. He's our best opportunity. He's our best choice right now until Le'Veon Bell comes back. Bad game against the Titans, but, you know, he's capable of putting up 150 yards, 20 carries like he did against the Giants. So I think it's going to be him unless there's a fumble issue. If there's a fumble issue, we just go right down the line to Dwyer, then to Felix Jones, then to who knows after that.
Dan, you have to go to Cincinnati with Kabali. You disagree.
Kabali, who had 122 yards on 17 carries at Paul Brown Stadium last season?
No, it was that guy, Jonathan Dwyer, who just ran right behind Willie Colon.
God, they both stink. We're debating which odor is the least offensive, for God's sake.
The one common variable that you have with these guys is that whenever you hand them the ball a lot, and the numbers will back me on this, they'll actually look like something. If you go running back by committee, it doesn't work anywhere. You ask me who's going to be the most productive running back tomorrow night, it's going to be Ben Jarvis, Green Ellis, because the Bengals are just going to keep feeding him the football.
The bottom line is all three of those guys stink, but with all due respect to the football guy, how did Jonathan Dwyer jump over Felix the Cat Jones in the depth chart after they cut him to keep Felix Jones? And where did Redmond do anything worth calling good in the past? I don't know. So far back I can't remember. It is just mind-boggling that Felix Jones, the devil we don't know, isn't starting. Redmond has proven he can't do it. Jonathan Dwyer, by the time he's been done, I was going to use the cut so many times, so bleed to that joke, but I did that last week. Dwyer stinks. Redmond stinks. Jones probably stinks too, but he needs to play and he won't because the Steelers like to do the buddy-buddy thing.
And the real solution to all of this is to not run the ball. Let Ben be Ben. Get four wides out there. Have Marcus Wheaton. Get David Paulson off the field. Keep an extra blocker in. And throw the ball like the other 31 teams in the National Football League.
I'll tell you why Felix Jones isn't playing. I saw him in practice yesterday line up on the wrong side of the formation, and Kirby Wilson had to go drag him to the other side. You think a guy who's 5 years in the league and is a veteran's been around 3 weeks would know that by now. That's why he's not playing.
You think a guy who's been around as long as like Redmond could average more than 1.1 yard per carry.
All right, Mark and Dan, thanks for the opinions. I think we settled all the problems tonight. Thanks also to our social media contributors. And a final word about a busy Monday night coming up. Tomorrow's the only night this season with all three teams, pro teams in Pittsburgh in action. The Steelers will be in Cincinnati, of course, for that Monday night game. Pirates will continue their final regular season homestand when they host the Padres. And the Penguins will start their home preseason schedule with their second straight preseason game. Red Wings are in. It's a great time of the year for sports, spectacular time for Pittsburgh sports. Watch it, enjoy it, tweet about it, Facebook it. Let us hear your opinion and get on the final word. That's the final word for tonight. I'm Albie Oxenrider. For Dan and Mark, have a great week.
Liverpool